All right. First of all, can you hear me okay? Clear enough? All right, good, good. We do have house rules as well, so keep it down a little bit. We don't want to annoy the neighbors. Plural sites below us. Anyways, so excited to be here today. It's been a long time. I've as I'll kind of introduce myself, been doing Product Hive for some time now. Finally was prodded to get up and do a presentation. So I'm excited to be here and to present on the secret sauce of building great products. And this applies to all of us as UX designers, as developers that are here, as product managers, and how you are running your product organization and being leaders within those product organizations. So first off, just a little bit about me. Hopefully it doesn't show up. These two pictures kind of encapsulate a lot of who I am. I have my family here. On this trip, we didn't get a picture together, so I had to kind of do two different pictures. On the left, that's me and my two boys. They were 6 and 4 in this picture. They've grown a little bit since last summer. And then on the right, here's my wife with my the cutest little girl in the world, Hazel. She's 18 months. So the reason that I really like this picture, and it kind of encapsulates everything about me, is I grew up in Colorado, grew up in the mountains, climbed lots of 14ers in my life, climbed about 38 of them. I love being in the mountains. I love the hardship of being in the mountains. And what better place than to take my kids there? So we went up to the basin of Kings Peak, familiar with Kings Peak here in the Uintas. We backpacked in. We had actually a horse carry in some things, but we backpacked in and spent about 3 or 4 nights there. And my wife carried Hazel on her back, and I carried a large pack, and those two boys walked 11 miles. I was incredibly proud of those two little boys who walked 11 miles. Kids can do some incredible things. So don't underestimate the power of a little mind doing some pretty big things. There was some complaining along the way. We did also play Hansel and Gretel, so we actually had some people with us. They would drop little candy along the trail. If you ever take kids on a hike, they love it. They loved finding that candy. So Hansel and Gretel works great. A little bit about my professional life. So, I've been working, I'd say, in product for about 8 years. 8 to 10 years, if you include some time also in college where I was working. But started out as a management consultant focusing on products. In that time, worked with a lot of different companies, global Fortune 50 companies, Department of Defense, and helping them make decisions on products that they were building, who they were building them for, the requirements of those products. And it was a great experience. And also startups. Had no revenue. They were just getting going and starting to build their organizations. It was an incredible experience to see product from the lenses of so many different companies, from government, very large red-taped government organizations, to Fortune 50 companies who are out there, to small startups going through acquisitions. It was a great experience to just see all those products. But one of the things that has really defined my time over the 8 years as I've been working through that, well, let me kind of take it forward. So from there, worked at Ghostery for about 1.5 years, building data pipeline and data reporting tools. Great time there. That's when I actually moved here to Utah. So I moved here to Utah in 2015. Was in 5 years in Orlando, Florida. Then from there, been in InMoment for 2 years now. With, as JD says, build data tools, data analytics tools, work with our data science team using machine learning to bring insights to our customers and what their customers are saying about them. So really, if you saw the introduction that I made about myself in Product Hive, it was around AI. I'm really excited about this buzzword AI, okay? It's very generic, it's very general, but I think it works, okay? It's how do we use machines to create a better experience? This is not the topic of my presentation. I'm just passionate about it. How do we use machines to create a better experience? For so long, it's been about the data science and the engineers who have been using this. We, as UX designers, as product managers, need to get our hands deep in AI. I truly believe that if companies don't start engaging in this in the next 5 years, you're going to be left behind. So start engaging in it. Different topic. I would love to talk about it another time. Not the topic for today. but creating a better experience through AI. And that's what I'm really passionate about. That's a little bit about my career. Again, here at InMoment today. It was actually the PMX in 2015 when we moved here. And didn't see really a product group, so we started the meetup group. And from there, we've grown to what we are today, a room full of awesome product managers, developers, UX designers. So really happy with Product Hive and really the awesome community that we've grown here in Utah. You guys are we're putting Utah on a map, and I think you don't realize the impact that you have to the overall state and to the economy here within Utah. Okay, so let's get to the meat of why we're here. The secret sauce to building great products. There's a lot of things you could say, what sets apart a product leader within an organization? And I use that term to mean PM, UX, dev. But what sets apart really a product leader within an organization? So to have a little fun with this, we're going to run through 5 individuals that I would say have the secret sauce. Looked at them. I've done some studying of them. Actually, I've done a lot. I've read about them, or I know them personally. So we're going to go through these 5 individuals, and we're going to talk about just a little bit about them. And they all have the secret sauce. So this first one, does this look familiar to anyone? Alex Honnold. This man is incredible. So he is on El Capitan. It's in Yosemite. This is a 3,000-foot wall. There's no protection gear. First man to ever do this. This was last year in 2017. This is like, in the climbing world, this is like it. This is like getting on the moon. This is huge. Without any protection gear, one of the hardest routes in the world. He climbed it in under 4 hours, which is actually not the time record, but he climbed it without any protection gear. We're going to learn a little bit about Alex Honnold. He has the secret sauce. He just didn't decide to do this one day, by the way. Keegan Randall and Jessica Diggins. Does anybody remember this moment? This last Olympics? It was in the cross-country skiing, where Jessica Diggins, she's sprinting. She's putting everything she can into it. She beats the Swede very last, just line beater. Cool moment. And Keegan Randall as well. Keegan Randall, I just want to, Keegan's the one on the left. This was her last Olympics. She started her Olympic career in 2002. 2002 Winter Olympics was here, Salt Lake. She quotes, she says, in those Olympics, she got 44th place. She says, I was young, naive, and determined. I still dreamt of standing on that podium someday, and she did. She has the secret sauce. James Lawrence, a local guy. Who's heard of the Iron Cowboy? All right. So James Lawrence, 50 Ironmans in 50 states in 50 days. This was an incredible feat. Doctors told him you can't do it. It's impossible. How are you going to be able to do this? He did it. And James Lawrence accomplished an incredible feat. He didn't just do it. He just didn't wake up one morning and decide he was going to do it. It took a long time. The guy is ripped, but he did it. Sir Ernst Shackleton. This might be a little bit less known. Who's heard of Ernst Shackleton? Yeah, have you read the book Endurance? Pretty awesome. The book Endurance was written about his expedition. He was one of the first people to hit Antarctica, the South Pole. He wanted to take it even further and cross the whole South Pole. His story of endurance, of getting through some incredible hardship, of taking his team when they were stranded in absolutely the middle of nowhere, the South Pole, and how they survived is an incredible story. Sir Ernst Shackleton has the secret sauce. Last but not least, of course, my mom. So my mom is an incredible lady. Of course, I'm not biased here, but not just because of who she is and what she's done for me in my life, but because of what she's also accomplished. So my mom, she grew up in a fairly oppressed circumstances. She had loving mother and father. They loved her very much. She had a great family, but they just didn't have much money. And when she was growing up, she had to sew much of her clothes. If she wanted a dress, her mom says, well, we can't afford that dress. She said, well, I'm going to have that dress. And so she went and bought the material, and she learned how to sew it herself. So throughout most of high school, throughout her young life, she learned how to make her dresses and her clothes. She's very girly. I don't know if that's a term, but she loves all that stuff. She's a beautiful woman. And so my mom, though, she grew up and she got married to my dad. They had 5 rambunctious boys. And then in about 1985 or so, about the time I was born, she started her business, where she then applied her skills in interior decorating, and she started a 30-year business where she would work out of our basement. We moved to Denver, and for 25 years, she was known as the interior decorator in Denver. Because not only, it was very rare what she did, because she wouldn't only do the decorating, the design of how this is going to look and how this is going to feel, but she also sewed it. So down in our basement, she sewed everything. And she was always busy. She was always running around getting stuff done. But she was an incredible example of someone who had the secret sauce. So it'd be kind of like a designer. You design your stuff and you code your stuff all at the same time. It doesn't happen very often. In the design world, it's even probably rare for that to happen. So she is an incredible woman and someone who has the secret sauce. So that's all of them. So what's the secret sauce? You probably thought, okay, what is the correlation that all of these really have to each other? What is something that they really possess? So, no. That's not the secret sauce. But what is the secret sauce? John Wayne, grit. Raw grit. So why is this important? Why would I be talking about grit? It's a soft skill. I don't know if it can be learned. It's very internal. But it's something that I don't think we all possess. And it is something that I believe is incredibly important, not only for your organization, but for you. And so I'm going to go in a little bit into this. So Angela Duckworth actually wrote a book. Who's read the book Grit from Angela Duckworth? Okay, just a few of you. So I took a few things from Angela. Actually, for full disclosure, I didn't read the whole book. I skimmed through a few. I actually didn't even know about the book. And after I had come up with this presentation, and not the presentation, but the topic I knew I wanted to talk about. But since she's kind of the de facto person talking about grit, I need to make sure I reference her. And she gives a pretty good definition of what I think grit is as well. Our passion and perseverance for long-term goals. Passion and perseverance for long-term goals. Something that I want to note here as well is that in her book, she also says that talent is sometimes a big distraction for what actually is the more important part of grit. And the studies that she did, and in my experience of looking at and kind of studying this over my lifetime, is that sometimes talent's a distraction. But it's more important is what is the effort that they put in? And we'll go through some of these things of what grit is, some of the principles around grit. But let's not get distracted by what talent sometimes is, because talent is not necessarily an indicator of success or that a person is going to be good at what they do. So we're going to talk about grit. So let's go into why does grit really matter to you, and why are you standing here, and why should you continue to listen to this today? So without being, hopefully not sacrilegious, your CEOs, your executives, your leaders have come to you, I believe, with a very heavy responsibility, almost a sacred responsibility of saying, here's a vision, a long-term vision of where we want to go. All right, UX designer, all right, product manager, all right, developer, go and do it. You are responsible for holding that vision and moving that vision forward, because that founder, that CEO, those leaders can't do it by themselves. And so they have hired you, or you're hiring yourself, to come in and to carry that vision for the long term. Now, as Angela has said before, It's perseverance for the long-term goals. They have some long-term goal or vision that they want to accomplish. Without you, as a product manager, UX designer, they're not going to get it done. You have to go out and get it done. So you have to have the grit, and you have to have the wherewithal to go in and put in the effort to get this product built and to make a good product that people are going to love. So that is why this is an important topic for all of us, a soft skill that we all need to learn. Because if you don't learn how to have grit in the time of hardships, if you don't learn how to get past those times when people are disagreeing, when you're tasked to do something that seems monumental, you don't know how you're going to you're going to be able to do this. When you're tasked with those things, you're going to have to dig down and you're going to have some grit. So this is an incredibly important topic, not only for you personally, but for your organization and for the development of this community and for creating better products in the world. So we're going to go through some principles. How do you build product grit? First one we're going to talk about is desire, belief, and focus. We're going to talk about there's no substitute for hard work. To have grit, you need to surround yourself with a great team, because it's not individual. And 4, failure is only permanent if you let it. So let's talk about this first one. Desire, belief, and focus. Now I probably could have separated these out, with lack of time. We're going to squish them all together and try to get this done all in here. There's a great quote. It was actually given, it's attributed to Henry Ford. I did a lot of research on it. Most people said Henry Ford, so we'll attribute it to him. But essentially he says, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. I like that because it goes either way. You're right either way. Let's watch a quick film. This is going to be 6 minutes. I know it's long. It's incredible cinematography. It's of Alex Honnold. Okay? At the beginning of this, listen to the discussion. Listen to what they're talking about and how it relates to desire, belief, and focus. And I know it's 6 minutes, but it's so good. I love watching it every single time. So we're going to go ahead and watch it. So in 2014, before 2017, when he, oh, hold on. What happened? Uh-oh. There we go. I'm not hearing sound. Is there sound? There's no sound. Is there? Okay.
Sport of free soloing is easy to understand. He went up this giant pace without a rope. If he falls, he dies.
I'd heard about it years ago. It was like the hard down here, the big hard multi-pitch that was like the test piece. I mean, it's always interesting to that next step in technical climbing to me. It may be too scary, but I'm going to put a bunch of work into it and kind of figure out whether or not it's even possible.
It's just kind of weird helping your friend do something that you know could potentially lead to his death.
Wait, update.
Cleaning the root a little bit, pulling off some of the vegetation, and just sort of sussing it out a little bit.
Kept on picturing myself without a rope, and then I'd get really scared. How's the condition of the route currently for soloing?
Quite damp. It's suboptimal.
I mean, all it takes is you grab one small hole that pops off the wall and you fall to your death, you know? So when I was cleaning the wall for Alex, I was like cleaning every little thing, you know? I was like anything that looked loose or any little piece of dirt, I was trying to clean it off the wall because I obviously want my buddy to live. You feel like you're slipping a little? It's a little bit of a thank God moment, right?
Well, a little bit.
At some point during the day while I was up there with Cedar, I was just like, I'm ready. Like, I'm sick of hanging around on ropes. It went from like being sort of an intimidating idea to just being like, I'm kind of excited to do this.
And then we're gonna see what happens in there.
Anybody step outside?
It's a little more chilly today. It's slight breeze.
All right. Oh. All right, who else's palms are sweating? Mine are. So, uh-oh. I lost some of my, oh, come on. Oh, that's great. I want to make sure I have some of my notes here. There we go. Okay. Did you listen to what he was saying at the beginning there? Did he just decide? Did you notice? I mean, a lot of people would say he's crazy. I've listened to a lot of interviews of Alex because I have a fetish with just trying to understand why people do things. And I've come to the conclusion that I actually don't think he's crazy. I think he's different, for sure. I think he has capabilities that we don't have. He can turn down his fear volume like you turn down the music on your computer. You just do. But if you notice there at the beginning that he said, you know, it may be too scary, but I'm going to do a bunch of work into it. I'm going to put a bunch of work into it and see if it's even possible. So the goal was to find out if it's even possible. He believed that there could be a route, there could be a way to accomplish this great feat. So how do you apply this into your product life? Focus on the end goal. So many of you know Dan Lawyer. He's a VP of product at Vivint. I met with several people as I was preparing for this. He had a great quote. The right plan ends at the goal or metric you have set for your product team. Refuse to accept plans that don't get you to that goal. He said, plans can change. How we accomplish it, the route that we take can change. But set a goal for yourself and make sure your product team, have the belief in your product team that you can get there. He shared a story that says sometimes we actually didn't get there. But what we accomplished in the process put us a lot further than if we didn't have a goal at all. You know, the part of belief as well. This is not like some belief that a Southern Baptist preacher has. He just gets them there and it's great. I'm not making fun of him. But anyways, they get into it, right? If you've ever seen them. But this is the belief that, you know what? We think there's something here. How often has I know this has happened to me, how often has your director, or maybe it's a VP, or maybe it's the CEO said, hey, I think we can do this. I think we could do it. Could we just take it to the next step? And you're like, no way. Like, no way. How do we do that? But do we put in the work and the effort to figure out if it's even possible? It might actually not be possible, and the answer might be no. You might argue with him, and you might put in the work to say, no, it's actually not possible, and hopefully they're a reasonable person. They say, okay, you're probably right. We probably don't want to do this for various reasons. But don't shut down belief so fast. Try to have an open mind. Try to say, okay, just like Alex said, I'm going to put a lot of hard work into this. I'm going to see if this is even possible. And then remember when he was up on the wall, he's like, I'm sick of hanging around. I'm sick of doing this. And there was something that clicked and said, I'm finally excited about it. So a personal experience of mine, I know recently my director, Joel, we were working on a project. I came to him some plans of where we wanted to get. It would get us to actually the end goal. And he said, you know, Brandon, I think you should actually go to the next step. I'm sitting there and I'm going, I don't know. I don't know if we want to do that. I'd have to rally the team. Can we do that? He said, at least try. So okay, we'll try. We got there. We actually leapfrogged where we were going to be. And at this last conference that we had an incredible showing of this new product. I am so glad that he pushed me to say, hey, believe. Let's see if we can go to the next step. And we did. So desire, belief, and focus. Bring that into yourself, bring it into your product organization, and focus on it so you can have grit. Oh, this was the quote from Dan, if you want to take a picture. It's a good quote. You'll have it afterwards, though. There's no substitute for hard work. Has anybody, if you've ever gardened before, if you've ever done anything with gardening, I suggest doing it. It actually teaches you a lot about building product. I like working with my hands. And actually my wife really pushes this. I'm glad she does. She loves gardening. Even though my last name's Gardner. I don't know, but she adopted the name and she's taken it all the way. But I'm really glad she has. It's actually taught me a lot about work. We live in a world that's about fast food and social media and instant gratification. We've forgotten the strength that comes from being able to plant a seed in the springtime and harvest it in the fall time. Hard work means time. Time takes effort. Tony Robbins, TJ gave me this quote. He gave me this quote, but I'm quoting Tony Robbins. Most people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 2 or 3 decades. Most people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 2 or 3 decades. So where's your 2 or 3 decades, and are you working towards it? Are you working towards it as a team? I think you can shrink this a little bit as a product organization, okay? I don't think many people are at a company for 2 or 3 decades anymore, but maybe it's 2 or 3 years, okay? So think about, what are you going to accomplish in that 2 to 3 years? What are you going after, and can you accomplish it? As a product leader, you have to be able to get up every day and put in the hard work. You have to be innovative. You have to be pounding towards that goal or that metric, because remember, you have that sacred trust of the executive team to hold that vision in your hand and to make that come true. They don't have the best ideas. It's really, it's this group right here. It's that product team that really holds that in their hands, and they're going to have to form it. So it's up to you to have that grit. Teach your organizations that to get the product right takes time, just like planting a seed. Show them, hey, the seed's growing, right? You can see it's popping up, but we're not going to be able to maybe harvest the fruit until the fall time. It's so hard. I could tell another personal story of we were supposed to launch a product. It was supposed to save the company, right? But it takes time. And now after that time, it's now bearing the fruit that it was supposed to. It takes time. Hard work takes time. The struggle. Engage in the struggle of product. There was a great quote from Front about 2 years ago. I actually don't remember. I tried to go back and find who did it. I couldn't find the video. I believe it was someone from Instructure. So if you're here or if you're watching the video, please email me. But essentially what this person said is that on the other side of complexity is simplicity, and it's a really steep curve. To get to simplicity, which we all want to get to, we have to go through complexity. You have to go through 15, 14, 15, 20 iterations to get there. Put in the hard work. Get it done. Be willing to put in that hard work, because on the other side of complexity is simplicity. It's a steep curve. Put in the hard work, get over the curve, and get it done. So there's no substitute for hard work. If you're a product manager, if you don't like work, just get out. Get out of the industry. Okay. I also want to say, I also don't think that this means pulling overnighters all the time. No, it doesn't mean that at all. Actually, it means a constant, consistent grind of getting up and going and doing your job. I think that's what hard work really means. You might put in some overnighters, definitely, but. All right. Failure is only permanent if you let it. So I grew up with 4 brothers. I was actually the 4th, so I have 1 younger, 3 older. And I had to keep, if anybody has had older siblings, I had to keep up with these older brothers, and I looked up to them. I still look up to them as my role models, as really my heroes, as those that I want to model myself after. And they are constantly working very, very hard. One of them an ER doctor, one of them owns their own hedge fund. The other one was an Air Force pilot, and then my younger brother's an Air Force pilot as well. They've all worked really hard in their lives. So it really takes, you have to keep up with your brothers, right? And one time, it was a fun time. We loved to go skiing, spring break. They're all skiers, and finally got to the point when I was like 14, 15, where I could finally keep up with my brothers in skiing. And we went skiing, and they were they wouldn't wait up for you. Like, we get to the bottom of the hill, and they were 4 or 5 lifts ahead of me, and I'm getting on the lift. But I had to keep up with them. And this one day, it was spring break, and we were out, we were doing stuff, and it was kind of hot outside. And I just mentioned, I said, hey, I think we should shed our coats because it's getting too hot. And one of my brothers looks at me and he's like, if you're not wearing a coat, you're not falling enough. And that's literally the tone. If you're not wearing a coat, you're not falling enough. And that was the attitude of, you're going to fall. If you're not falling, you're actually not trying hard enough. So try to fall. Now, calculated risks, right? Alex Honnold can't make a mistake. So that's a little bit different. But risk's important. Now, what's important is that failure is a part of growing. What's important is that you get up from failure and that you keep on going towards that long goal. So 1, shift your mental model. Start thinking about failure a little bit differently. Don't think about it as a point where, in my product organization, if I fail a little bit, I'm down in this corner. Get yourself back up. Look at it as a learning opportunity where you're going to get back up. And this is easier said than done. I know it's an emotional challenge. It really isn't an emotional thing. It's a soft skill. Figure out how you can change your mental model to do that. Make yourself uncomfortable. Divergent thinking is a great way of doing this. I know this is a UX principle. Divergent thinking is a great way, a safe place to go in and fail. Think of things that are outside the box a little bit. Go and try different things. Think of different products. It's safe, it's comfortable. So try that. Try divergent thinking and fail a little bit in there, and maybe it'll yield fruits. And you'll feel a little bit more comfortable to step out a little bit more and to fail a little bit more. One of the things, we're not aiming for failure. That's not the point here. Don't aim for failure, but aim for getting better. Aim for being better. Just when you do fall, get yourself back up and be comfortable with that. A great example of this is recently with my designer. We were, my designer, we're a team, I shouldn't say my, we're a close team. TJ Nelson, he's a great designer. We work together and we were on calls constantly with clients. And he had a new thing that he wanted to use. He's like, hey, let's throw this into design. Like, all right, let's do it. Threw it in design. It was a small thing. There wasn't too much risk. We were just trying some different things. He got in there, he started to explain it, and TJ's awesome, but he fell on his face. And he didn't do the best. He actually didn't quite understand exactly. He thought he understood it, but just verbalizing and putting it out there and falling on his face taught him what he needed to know. So he went back to the drawing board and he did it again. One of the great things that I've learned from working with TJ is that you can go through 15 to 20 to 30 iterations. Again, going back to the hard work, you're still okay. Go through that iterations. You're going to fall a little bit, but that's okay. It's part of the process. Just get back up again. Angela Duckworth, those that have grit don't believe failure is a permanent position. So don't believe that it's a permanent position. All right, I know we got to keep going. This is the last one. Yes, this is the last one. Surround yourself with a great team. So personal example, growing up I had a good friend who was dyslexic. You probably all know dyslexic people. They're great people. Well, of course, they're awesome. But they sometimes have troubles with standardized tests. Okay, they don't follow the same mold of learning, but you'll actually find that with a lot of dyslexic people, if you ever find out they are dyslexic, because a lot of time you don't know because they actually have really good brains. Anyways, he worked really, really hard. He pounded really, really hard when he was younger, but he attributed his success. He went on, graduated through high school. You would have never known. The guy worked so incredibly hard, no one ever knew, and when he told people he was dyslexic, they were like, what? That doesn't make sense, because they have this stigma, right? Anyways, went on to a great university. He's actually a product manager today. And he's attributed much of his success in being able to come through very hard challenges that he had growing up to his parents. He said to my parents, he said, I had a strong belief in God that really helped me. He said, I had very strong teachers. He took all of the hard AP classes. He took all the AP classes. He didn't pass one of the tests to get college credit, but he took all of the AP classes. He put in that hard work, and he surrounded himself with people that were smart. Jim Rohn, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. He spent his time with people that he felt were smarter, better than him, and he became that. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So how does this apply to you? In your place of business, who do you decide to surround yourself with? When you first start a job, when you go in there, do you walk around, do you get to know people a little bit? Do you get to find out who are not the influencers, not the cool people, but who are the people that you trust? Who are the people that really are willing to engage with you, that are willing to think, that are willing to talk frankly? Surround yourself with people that challenge you. If you go back to the story of leapfrogging, do they challenge you when they go up? Are they men or women? They shouldn't be. They should be people that challenge you. So find people in your product organization that challenge you, and you challenge others. Create a culture of being able to challenge in a good environment, right? It doesn't mean you're a bad person, but create that culture in your product organization and you as yourself to being able to accept feedback and accept no and accept I don't think that's right, whether they're right or wrong. That's part of the engagement. But surround yourself with those people and engage in the wrestle. Find people that will engage in that wrestle with you of being able to get over that curve of complexity, the steep curve of complexity, so you can get to simplicity. You need people that are going to engage with you. You need that strong team around you of developers, of designers, of marketers, whoever it might be, to engage with you in that wrestle. So with that, we've gone through 4 different principles of failure, of desire, belief, and focus, of surrounding yourself with the right team, and of hard work. All these things are going to help you grow and help you grow your organization and make you a better person. My hope today is that you can take one of these principles and try to apply it. Try something that you know you might, a portion of grit that you might be lacking today or that your organization is lacking, and try to build it into your organization. Because at the end of the day, if you have grit, you might not have the best talent, you might not have the best circumstances, you might not have the best luck, but because of your grit, you can get past it and you can go to an area of success. Thank you.
All right, we have time for some Q&A. Does anyone have any questions for Brian? I'll kind of run around the mic, so.
Hey, just wondering if you want to share an experience where you really felt you needed to exercise a lot of grit.
Yeah. I'm that dyslexic kid. I wasn't planning on that. It's hard. You can get through it. You can do it. That's my answer.
Thank you for sharing that, first of all. Let's give him another hand. Can you tell me about a time when you had the opportunity to coach someone else to help them kind of find their grit and get where they needed to go in a product situation?
Yeah. So, can I use you, Jeremy? Jeremy's been looking for a product job for the past year and a half. We first sat down. I don't know how much of this I can share. Am I good? Yeah. Okay. So we sat down a year and a half ago. He's like, hey, I want to get into product. How do I do this? And I said, well, I first of all said, Jeremy, this is not going to be easy. If you know, getting a product job is a very difficult thing. And so I told Jeremy, you're going to have to work at it. We went through a lot of the hard skills, right? We worked through those hard skills. Jeremy was incredibly persistent. I thought he was going to wash out, like many people that I talked to, wash out. He pounded. I don't know how many applications he went through. And Jeremy got through it, and he started his first real product management role 2 weeks ago. Great question. Thank you. Any other questions? Yeah, over here.
So I noticed when the guy was scaling the wall in the video,
Yeah.
which was awesome. I'm glad you shared.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
By the way, add that to my list of things I'll never do in my life. But something that I
Most of
noticed,
yes.
he turned down his fear volume, and it took incredible guts and grits to do that. But something I also noticed is that he was very methodical,
Right.
and very deliberate with every single move.
Yeah.
What role have you seen in that as far as like building grit?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit different. risk, it's always a weight of a risk reward. Obviously, Alex Honnold's risks, it's life or death. It's a huge risk. Alex Honnold started climbing way young, right? When he climbed El Cap last year, he had kind of had it on his mind for a long time. The guy's climbed it with ropes and everything in like 2 hours. And I think he said he climbed that route 50 times before he said, I'm doing it. So I think it depends on the risk, right? I think you got to determine, in software, take risks. The risk is not, okay, it can be heavy. Weigh the risks. In software development, you can afford to be a little bit risky. I was talking with a product manager. He was actually a design engineer at Black Diamond. He has to take a little bit less risk. He has to be a little bit more methodical, right? Because he ships product. He doesn't get another shipment for another 1.5 years, 2 years. You got to be a little bit less. You got to do a little bit more testing. So I think that yin and yang of risk, taking risks, failing, you got to just weigh it out in your situation. And with Alex, it's a little bit different. Obviously, with me and being software, I can be a little bit more risky. That's good. With someone working at Black Diamond, they probably need to be a little bit less risky because they're going to go and they're going to manufacture a whole bunch of these. So it all depends. I don't know if that helps answer your question, but I think you got to answer that question for yourself.
I think yin and yang was a good answer.
Okay, yin and yang. Will.
Hey, Brandon.
Hey.
You talked about, so grit, I think, is like a very personal trait, and it's something that maybe you can grow through practice, turn it into a character that you possess. But you mentioned this briefly in a couple of places, the passion, goals. There seems to be, to me, if you just have grit without those other pieces.
I think you're absolutely correct.
It's hard to get somewhere.
I think you're 100% right. I think without the passion, if you don't have a passion, I've learned how to. Well, I haven't learned. I've ran all my life, and now I've become an ultra runner. And a lot of people are like, "You're crazy." I kind of building a passion for it. So to get up every morning to run really early morning or late night takes a passion. You're absolutely correct. If you don't have a passion for it, it's a little bit different. So I'm hoping all of you have a passion for product management or for UX design. And if you don't, you might want to reassess. And that's fine. So I completely agree, Will. Completely agree. Passion is important there.
All right, so we can do 2 more questions. This side of the room needs attention.
So I like what you said about belief and don't shut down belief too fast and this sort of idea. Is there an example or something that you could share about how you grow that belief in your team or develop that belief? Like maybe you're passionate about it, you see the vision, but now you've got to translate that or transfer that to this team and generate that energy with the team. How do you do that?
You know, I don't know if I have a good answer for that. I think others seeing your passion can be contagious sometimes. You know that person that walks in the room and everything just kind of lights up? I think going back to that sacred obligation that you have to hold this vision of product vision, right? I think you got to be that. That's part of the obligation that you have, is to be that person that gets up, that goes through the mud, the mire, but looks up at the sun, looks up at the stars and sees the beautiful stars, even though we're walking through mud and mire right now. So I think it almost has to be a contagious thing. I think grit is something that has to be learned. I don't know if that's a great answer, but more I'm thinking about it right now, I think it's you're kind of the key there. It might not stick. And you can't make someone, at the end of the day, you can't make someone have that passion, but do your best. It's hard, yes, it's very hard, because you have that naysayer, you have a person that's always just bagging on it. You're like, come on, just keep working at it. Have that grit, right? That perseverance and patience.
Did you ever feel that your grit was misinterpreted along the way by people? Like your extreme passion, your hard work, that people misinterpreted it for pushy or
Yeah.
overbearing.
Yeah, but I don't think you have to be pushy and overbearing to have grit. Angela, in her book, she mentions like an entrepreneur that came up to her and was, kind of sales guy, very, oh, buddy, all of that. I don't think actually that's what it means. I don't know. I don't necessarily look at I don't feel like I'm pushy. Maybe I am. My team will tell me if I'm pushy or not. He's pushy? All right. I actually don't think you have to be pushy. If you look at Alex, you look at the guy, you're like, what? He's a free soloer? He's the calmest guy in the world. So I don't think you have to be pushy to have grit. I don't think it means this energetic person. I think it means something a lot different. So it's good. It could be very much interpreted differently. I think quiet, reserved people, even though a really rambunctious person is usually labeled as the gritty person, I don't believe that. So, yeah.
Awesome. Can we give Brandon another round of applause?
Thank you.